Welcome back, everyone. Next up, we have Ammo Inc. It trades on the NASDAQ under the symbol POWW and designs and manufactures products for a variety of aptitudes, including law enforcement, military, sport shooting, and self-defense. Please welcome its CFO, Rob Wiley. Welcome, Rob.
Thank you very much. Hello, everyone. My name is Rob Wiley, and I am the CFO of Ammo Inc., and today I'll be presenting on our company. Before I get started, I'm going to pause for a moment and give you a chance to look over our forward-looking statements disclosure. Okay, moving on to a snapshot of our market statistics for our company. We currently have approximately 115 million shares outstanding, minimal debt, and from there I'll take you on to our company's history. Before I get started on our company's history, I think it's important to dive into the background of Fred Wagenhals, our founder, chairman, and CEO. Fred has a lot of experience in the public arena. In the early 90s, he started a company called Action Performance, which licensed the rights for the NASCAR drivers. He started that company with 3 employees and a card table and took it to $400 million in revenue. From NASDAQ to the New York Stock Exchange, and ended up selling the company to NASCAR in the early 2000s for approximately $240 million. I mention that because obviously during this time, Fred grew close relationships with the NASCAR drivers, and they eventually got him into outdoor sports and hunting, sport shooting, and he really fell in love with the industry. So when the opportunity for him to come up to start Ammo Inc., he had this vision of bringing technology and licenses to the industry. And really that was his vision, is how can we bring technology to an industry that's been antiquated for about 100 years or so. So from there, we made our first acquisition of our streak patent, which is a non-incendiary tracer round, which means it's not flammable, and the shooter is able to see the path where the bullet is going. So it's a very cool technique. I'll go into a lot more detail on that later on. From there, we made our second acquisition of Jagman Brass. Jagman Brass was one of the largest independent brass manufacturers in the U.S. prior to us acquiring them. We really felt this was an important acquisition for us to vertically integrate, lock down our supply chain so we wouldn't get pushed out in times of high demand like we're seeing today or in times of war. From there, I'm going to take you to April of 2020. We implemented a call center. This was around the time where the pandemic was really coming into effect. We were just seeing the first bits of social unrest throughout the U.S. and also heading into the election cycle. And this team just performed phenomenally, really increased the number of customers we had by thousands, and is really attributed to the strong growth we've had to date. In December of 2020, the company uplisted to NASDAQ. Shortly after that, we received our first military contract, with a second following later in 2021. And April 30th of 2021, we closed on our acquisition of GunBroker.com, which I'll go into a lot more detail later on. And in the summer of 2021, we broke ground on our new production facility, which will be 165,000 square feet, and will provide many production enhancements that I will continue on with later. So from here, I'm just going to take you over the investment highlights. I'm not going to go over these one by one, but I'll give you a chance to see the topics that I'll be presenting on for the remainder of our time. I'm going to take you through our addressable market. So there's really 2 markets that we currently serve. We have our commercial markets and our military and law enforcement markets. The commercial retail markets, really our customer base consists of big box retailers, shooting ranges, all the way down to mom and pop shops. Also included in this category would be casing sales. As I mentioned, this has been a time of high demand. Our casings have really helped us secure a supply chain by not only being able to produce our own casings, but to trade our casings for other components so that we are continuing to service our customers. Lastly, included in this category is the newest addition to our team, GunBroker.com, where we have access directly to the consumer through this channel. Our military and law enforcement market is something that we're very excited about, and really is what we built the foundation of this company to serve. This would consist of sales to the U.S. military, law enforcement, as well as our foreign NATO allies. We have experienced a lot of growth that I'll show you on a few slides down, but as you can see, these are quite large addressable markets. So we are very passionate about what the future holds for this company. As I mentioned, we acquired GunBroker at the end of April in 2021, and it was something that we are very excited about. GunBroker is the leading marketplace for the industry, definitely the titan of the industry with over 6 million registered users, and the competitors not being very close behind, to put it frankly. The acquisition itself was approximately $240 million. It consisted of $50 million in cash, $50 million of debt assumption, which we ended up paying off at closing, and the remainder in stock. Steve Irvin, who is the founder of GunBroker, founded the company over 20 years ago in the late 90s, grew the company to a very successful business, as you can see, is now a part of our team on the board of directors and is also our chief strategy officer. Just to give you an example of the financial performance that GunBroker has, in calendar 2020, they produced $60 million in revenue, while also affording $40 million in EBITDA, and historically have produced approximately 87% gross profit margin. So very strong business. We're very excited to have it under the Ammo Inc. portfolio and are excited to see what we can do with that. Moving on, just a few more points about GunBroker. It's just a very impressive platform with the proprietary technology we have, its brand recognition, and also the credibility. We've been able to tap into over 25,000 FFL partners so that when a seller on the site decides to sell a firearm, that they can ship it to a buyer. The buyer can select an FFL near them and pick up the firearm upon completing the proper documentation to facilitate the lawful transfer of the firearm. Moving on to just a few charts about GunBroker's historical, you can really see the growth that GunBroker has had over the past couple of years, and with improvements and additions that we are very excited about adding to the site, such as credit card processing, loyalty programs, consumer financing. We really think we're able to drive further traffic to the site and continue to add value to this model. Switching gears a little bit here to our ammunition operations, I'm going to walk you through our sales channels. There's really 4 sales channels we have as far as commercial sales go in the U.S. That would be obviously retail, such as big box retailers like Bass Pro, Dick's Sporting Goods, Sportsman's Warehouse, as well as notable shooting ranges and distributors and buy groups throughout the U.S. So for our ammunition operations, going through our vertical integration, we manufacture out of Wisconsin. We have 3 facilities in the Manitowoc, Wisconsin area. Our main facility being 50,000 square feet combined, where our footprint is probably around 120, 130,000 square feet until we move into our new operating facility. We have the ability to produce up to 750 million rounds currently. And although we're operating at higher capacity, we have no doubt in our ability to meet the guidance that we have currently set of 250 million, which I will dive into in a little bit later. And that leads me to our new construction facility. In the summer of 2021, I mentioned we had broke ground on a 165,000 square foot facility that is also located in Manitowoc, Wisconsin. So the move will be a pretty quick process, and we expect that to be completed in the summer of 2022. Aside from expanding our footprint, this new facility will afford us production efficiencies, which will allow us to continue to increase our output, tripling as I have listed here on the slide, while also affording us cost savings of approximately $1 million on an annual basis. Once that facility is completed, our goal is to be able to produce 1 billion rounds of ammunition on an annual basis. So taking a look at our products, excuse me one second. One way that we're able to differentiate for ourselves from our competitors is our product line and our proprietary products. As I mentioned, Fred's goal and vision was to bring innovation to this industry. Our products are patented, branded. They afford higher margins than standard ball ammunition, and that's something that our customers value too, is because they're able to pick up additional margin on our products. And really our target is young and active and new shooters. And this current market has been very strong for the company, as there's over 8 million new shooters in the US in 2020. So we feel like there's a lot of headway for Ammo Inc. to grow further. Next slide, this is a video. Just for the sake of timing, I'm going to skip this slide today. You are welcome to visit, to take a look at this video. It's on the landing page of our website, ammoinc.com. And from here, I'm just going to go into our commercial product line. So we currently have 4 product lines: Ammo Inc. Signature, our Streak line, Stealth Subsonic line, and also our Signature Black line. I'd mentioned Streak, but I would like to talk about it a little bit more. So we acquired the patent, I believe it was right at the end of 2017. Actually won an innovative award at SHOT Show in 2018, just because of the product success. And Streak, as I mentioned, it's a one-way luminescent round. So what that means is once the round is fired, it's visible from the shooter in about a 30-degree range, but you can't see it from the target itself. Heard very positive feedback about Streak, heard it referred to as Star Wars in a box. It's a great training aid, and there's also military and law enforcement applications as well. Taking you on to more of the military and law enforcement products we offer. I had mentioned we acquired SW Kinetics. They held a patent for hard armor piercing rounds. We are one of a handful of manufacturers in the world that can produce these rounds, and our rounds are actually the most effective in terms of competition-wise from greater distance. So we've had a lot of strong interest for our armor-piercing rounds throughout the community, and are very excited for the future of what that holds. I did touch on Streak just a moment ago, and we also, in the military and law enforcement application, we refer to Streak in military and law enforcement application as OWL, or one-way luminescent. The same technology, but given the one-way tracing capabilities, it's a non-flammable round, so it's safe to use indoors. There's many uses that is generating a lot of interest around the community. Another product I'd like to discuss is newer to the company, and that is the BioAmmo biodegradable shotgun cells. In March of 2021, we entered into an exclusive U.S. distribution agreements with BioAmmo to help them distribute the product throughout the U.S. We're very excited about this project. We feel it fits right in line with our technological footprint, given the biodegradable technologies, and the customer feedback has been phenomenal. Obviously performs as a regular shotgun shell would, but as far as hunting ranges go, where they're concerned about the environmental impact, this round is great for them because obviously of the biodegradable impact of the bullet and the amount of rounds that are fired on the ranges throughout the year. So we're very excited about the partnership with BioAmmo and what it could potentially lead into in the future. And from here, I'll take you on to our financials. So I think it's important to note that we're March 31st fiscal year end. From the charts, you can see our significant growth since 2016, just going from 2 million in revenue to 250 million that we've guided for at the end of this fiscal year, our fiscal 2022 that ends in March. As you can see, as we've achieved scale, our margins have increased significantly along with the impact of the GunBroker.com transaction. I'd like to note out, historically, we did have negative gross margins, but that was due to the acquisition of Jagman and having a lot of depreciation and amortization that came on with that acquisition, just due to us building up for the scaling opportunities that we're seeing the fruits of the labor for today. Lastly, our adjusted EBITDA has obviously increased significantly throughout the years as well, and we have guided for 80 million for fiscal 2022. And this is internally a metric we value, as it includes add backs for non-cash expenses like stock compensation, for example. Switching gears a little bit here to our military opportunities. I had mentioned our product offerings with armor piercing and happy rounds, as well as the Streak Owl technology. And our most recent contract is for a new technology called the Signature on Target. this is a really cool product offering as, really there was a request from the machine gunner community to create a round that was able to mark a target without revealing the location of the shooter. So once this round hits the target, it ignites a flash with smoke and also ignites sparks as well. So you're able to use it in the daylight as well as nighttime as well. And she received very positive feedback from that one as well. We're very excited about this side of the business just because of the potential opportunity, given the addressable market and our product offerings that we feel fit right in line and are, very cutting edge as well. They also are lower cost for us to produce and carry quite significant margins. So looking into the next couple of years of the company, we're excited to see what our military sales department is able to tap into. Lastly here, I just have a brief overview of our management team. I had mentioned Fred Wagenhall as our chairman and CEO, Rob Goodmanson as our president, Rob Wiley, myself, CFO, Steve Irvin, Steve Verska, and Susan Loki joined us with the GunBroker acquisition. Mark Hanish and John Flynn head up our military sales, and Todd Wagenhall is our executive vice president. That's just a few. I mean, we have a very impressive management team as well as the rest of our team here at Ammo Inc. And with that, that concludes my presentation. I'd be happy to open up for questions.
All right. Thank you so much for that presentation. Okay. Kareem Wild says, congratulations on the GunBroker.com acquisition. The first time I heard you on this conference, you mentioned you were in the process of closing that. How was that acquisition, and how do you think it will grow for 2022?
The acquisition has been great, and thank you for the question, by the way. And it sounds like you were on for the first presentation, but it's really been a seamless integration, really a great culture at GunBroker.com. Our teams work very well together, merging into one. Looking towards the future, as I mentioned, there are some things we'd like to implement that we think could strengthen the website, such as, further credit card processing, consumer financing, and loyalty programs. And those are just low-hanging fruit that we feel like we can address early on while we continue to leverage the site.
Perfect. Thank you. Danielle Tello, many thanks for taking the question. Danielle would like to know, what is the GMV for GunBroker, and what is the ARPU for GunBroker users?
I have to be careful what I say because not all this is, I have to be careful I stick to public information. 2020 calendar GMV was approximately $1.2 billion. And I do not have the second metric you mentioned off the top of my head. I apologize.
No problem. But Danielle does say many thanks and congrats for the hard work during these years.
We appreciate your support.
Next question from Anthony Fitzgerald. Does POWW sell any non-lethal products?
Currently, our products offerings are only ammunition. Obviously, we also operate the GunBroker website. But besides T-shirts and accessories, ammunition is our main line of products.
Another question from Daniel Tello. Are you actually dealing with U.S. Army for more contracts? And can you disclose what percentage of the 2022 sales would be from the military division?
Unfortunately, just due to the nature of what it is, I can't really talk much about our military side of the business. We have announced 2 military contracts to date, and really expect the revenue portion of that to come in fiscal years to come.
Aisha Greaves asks, how are you doing on acquiring raw materials? Aisha has noticed that even to this day, some of the major ammunition brands are having supply issues. We really haven't struggled at all with acquiring raw materials. We have a great purchaser who has his ear to the industry, has been able to source components. So our production has been moving along smoothly since really the spike in demand started. Matt Jackson asks, why did backlog decline last year if the rest of the industry is sold out? And are you still seeing growth?
I think the backlog is a tricky number to address. Obviously, you can see by our scale, our company is growing very quickly. We're continuing to take new orders, and we're very confident in our ability to meet the guidance we have set. Our production capacity for the rest of the fiscal year is spoken for, so we are seeing our ability to continue growth in the future.
Jim Ramsey says, you seem to be in a recession-proof business. Things are good and people will spend money on guns. Things are bad, people will spend money on guns. Can you touch on your valuation with regard to your financials? Meaning, does your balance sheet and cash flow look better today than when the stock was $10 a year ago?
I'd say our balance sheet is similar to it was, for the past 9 months or so. Our September 30th balance sheet since the acquisition is probably the best reflection of the company. We are a little disappointed in the valuation of the stock. We think given our growth and combining a manufacturer with a marketplace and, really trying to drive that marketplace, we should carry a higher valuation, but really we just have to put our head down and keep working.
Jim Haas wants to know, how many other acquisitions do you have in your crosshairs, and what percentage of your current sales do you think they will bring you in terms of growth?
I wouldn't be able to talk about any potential acquisitions that may be apparent, but I would say we always do say that if an opportunity were to come along that would be accretive to the company and make sense to the vision of the company, we would definitely heavily consider making a move.
Jasmine Hagan wants to know, do you plan to go laterally beyond just ammunition?
Ammunition is sort of our sweet spot. Like I said, if something were to fit in the vision and make sense, with that, the Ammo Inc. portfolio, then, we would give it some thought. But as Fred likes to say, we're the razor blade, not the razor.
Ah, there we go. Jeffrey Pfeiffer says, can you provide any insights into the size and terms of the most recent DoD contract and the ability of the company to leverage current contracts to obtain more military contracts?
Unfortunately, I'm not able to go in particulars about the contracts that we currently have, but I will say that we're very impressed with our research and development department, our military sales department, and their ability to be innovative and drive new business.
There's another question from Jeffrey. When will revenues from the most recent DoD contract hit the income statement?
I wouldn't be able to address that in particular. I apologize.
That's okay. I'm going to try one more. Can you discuss your growth strategy, organic versus acquisition? And is your focus to build out current verticals or add new verticals?
I think ours is a bit of both. Obviously, we've shown our organic growth, but with our acquisitions we've made along the way, we also look for growth through acquisitions as well. What was the second part of that question? I apologize.
It was talking about organic versus acquisition and building current verticals or adding new verticals.
I don't think our vision is limited to vertical or other types of acquisitions. It would just, if the opportunity to work makes sense and, like I said, fit in line with our vision, then I think it would be worth us considering.
Matt Jackson asks, why did backlog decline last quarter if the rest of the industry is sold out? And are you still seeing growth?
I think was that one touched on before?
Maybe it was. We'll move on to Matt Jackson's second question, which is, what was year-over-year growth of GunBroker GMV for the third quarter of 21?
I do not have that number off the top of my head. I apologize, but we are seeing, the business continue to do strong.
No problem. Gloria Calvello asks, will you integrate cryptocurrency payments into GunBroker website? And does that create any disclosure issues?
That is something that we are considering, so I wouldn't be able to answer the disclosure issues, but if there's a way we can do it, we'd definitely like to try to fit that into the portfolio.
Brian Rodriguez wants to know if you have any plans on producing hunting ammunition.
Yeah, I think that's something that we would definitely like to move into, the ammunition side of the market, the hunting side of the market. I don't really have any, definite timelines or other than that, but I think there is definitely a possibility.
Jared Friedrich asks, is Ammo Inc. planning on creating infrastructure to vertically integrate their own primer production during the 5-year deal with Vista?
At this time, we do not have any plans to create our own primer facility, but that could change.
Jared Weinstein says, you've talked a lot about the streak and armor piercing rounds, but it seems like almost all of your ammo revenue comes from bulk ammunition. Can you talk about why you've had such success with non-proprietary ammo and if that's sustainable going forward?
Yeah, so there's kind of two ways I'd like to address that. Number one being, with the move of our facility, I didn't touch on this in this presentation, but we used to have production, our ammunition production was based out of Payson, Arizona. We moved those operations from Payson to Manitowoc in the second calendar quarter of this year. So our streak production was offline for probably 4 to 6 months. We recently just brought the streak production back online at the end of our second fiscal quarter, so our September quarter, and are now actually bringing on a second line, which will be able to quadruple our production. So we do expect streak to continue to grow significantly. It's a significant portion of our backlog, and I guess the other question you had was the standard ammunition portion of our sales. That's always going to be, a piece of our company, the standard ammunition, but we do expect streak to be definitely a larger share of the ammunition sales moving forward.
Jared Friedrich says, one industry change that seems to be happening is new technology in regards to casings. True Velocity is making polymer cased ammo, and SIG is creating a new casing to go with its new military weapon offerings. Does Ammo Inc. have anything in the pipeline in regards to ammo casing technology?
As I mentioned, we have quite an impressive research and development department. I wouldn't be able to go into detail on any advancements that we would be making today, but we would be sure to update the market as soon as we're able to.
Kevin Hagelin says, you gave preferred stock dividends. Will you be giving dividends to common stockholders?
I would think of the preferred stock dividends more of, similar to an interest payment. Preferred stock is a vehicle that's very similar to that. The company right now is in a significant growth mode, and we think the best way to drive value to our shareholders is to reinvest that into our growth. So in the near future, I don't anticipate us, declaring a dividend for common stockholders.
Louis Pecorillo asks, what publicly traded company do you consider to be the most like Ammo Inc.?
That's a tough one to answer. I think, we're kind of our own beast, Ammo Inc. We're an ammunition producer, kind of a pure play as far as manufacturing goes, ammunition, but we also have GunBroker.com. So we're a manufacturer with a marketplace, and I think a lot of the problem going on, at least in the markets, is people are having a hard time understanding what we are. So it's hard really to compare us to anyone else because we feel we're pretty unique. I guess you can say we're like eBay because we have a marketplace, or there's other ammunition manufacturers, Federal, Winchester. So I guess that's
Brandon
the best way to answer that.
It's okay. Brandon Balo asks, do you have a timeline on when you'll be able to disclose the dollar amounts of these military and commercial contracts?
Just because you're dealing with the U.S. Department of Defense, there's, not much that you can say without their approval. So basically the information that we put out to the public arena was approved by the U.S. Department of Defense. So it would just depend on what we were able to allow to share with the community.
Christian Zukowski asks, what's the thought process in hiring Reed Anderson as a PR firm in the middle of 2021?
I think there was a lot of growth for the company and, the past 2 years really. And there was a lot more interest and, the markets for our company, and having a firm like ICR being able to help us with investor relations and, investor outreach program was definitely important for us to add.
Last question from Joe Travers. Are share buybacks on the table in the future?
That's something that we haven't really discussed publicly, but I wouldn't count anything out at this point.
Okay. Well, Rob, thank you so much for this great presentation. We do have quite a few questions left for you, but we're out of time. So we'll send them directly to you so you can answer on your own time. Thank you for joining us again.
Thank you, everyone. I appreciate you attending our presentation. And if you have any other questions, feel free to email our IR email address, ir@ammo-inc.com.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Okay, everyone, stay with us. We'll be right back.